everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar here at IT Cloud, webinar where we're going to talk about AvePoint Opus, the key to Microsoft 365 data storage optimization and quality. But we're going to see how we can reduce customer cost through storage optimization and data hygiene services by means of this solution, offering us the key to Microsoft 365 data storage optimization and quality. We're fortunate today to have with us Youssef Bizri, Channel Solution Engineer at AvePoint. He will show us how we can benefit from what AvePoint has to offer. Youssef is going to share with us how we can overcome some of the difficulties in implementing an information management strategy through storage optimization and information lifecycle management. For those of you that do not know me, I'm Sylvain Fontaine, technical specialist here at IT Cloud in modern work and security in the pre-sales team. So on that note, all yours, Youssef.
Yeah, thank you, Sylvain. So, hello, everyone. Um, Thank you for joining today's session. I'll be stealing the screen now from Sylvain. Can you see my screen, Sylvain, by the way?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sounds good. So again, thank you for joining the session. My name is Youssef. I'm a channel SE here at AvePoint. Thrilled to be co-hosting this webinar with our trusted partner, IT Cloud, where we will be walking you through how AvePoint Opus helps organizations like yours tackle the Microsoft 365 storage growth challenges through intelligent data discovery, optimization, and lifecycle management when we get more and more, or when your customers get more and more mature in their AvePoint adoption. So before we dive into Opus, just taking a moment to reintroduce AvePoint quickly. We're proud to be recognized as the global leader in data security, governance, and resilience, supporting over 21,000 customers across 88 countries. Our solutions are deeply trusted by leading organizations such as the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Nutrien, Rogers, Gildan, and we're listed on NASDAQ under AVPT. So with 99.9% availability backed up by Azure and support over 500 plus petabyte of data, we are built for scale, compliance, and performance. So AvePoint Opus is part of our broader confidence platform. Before we start directly talking about Opus, let's position where Opus stands today. So we have three main pillars in our confidence platform, which is the customer solution. So at AvePoint, we have two main solutions. Rather than products, we call them full solutions. Each one is built out of multiple modules. The confidence platform is the user or the end user or the customer dashboard that is built on three main pillars that you see on the screen. So the resilience suite to ensure data protection and continuity. Control, the second pillar, which is to enable secure governance and data security, right? The last one would be modernization to support transformation across SaaS environments or on-prem to the SaaS. And we have a lot of flexibility in that area. So Opus focuses on the resilience side, right? So which is the first pillar, helping you manage, clean, and optimize data within M365 while maintaining compliance and business continuity. So the confidence platform is getting more and more integrated with the other solution that I just mentioned, which is our MSP portal that we call Elements. It's getting more and more integrated with that platform, as I'm going to show you in the demo later. So Opus plays a crucial role in supporting your AI readiness journey, which is one of the most common use cases that we hear today from your customers. So why? Because AI models are only as good as the data they rely on, right? So that's the most important idea to keep in mind. With Opus, we help you clean your data workspaces of outdated, irrelevant, or risky content. Or we help your customers so their AI investments run on accurate, relevant, and compliant information, right? So you'll see Opus here working hand in hand with our backup and governance solutions, all part of your customer's confidence platform ecosystem, as I've already mentioned. Now let's focus on AvePoint Opus, our specialized tool for data discovery, optimization, and lifecycle management. So as you already heard, I mentioned that 2 or 3 times for now. We have 3 levels in Opus. So the first one would be to discover your customer data. The second level is a more advanced one where we start talking about automation and being proactive in that identification of that data and how we can take action on that scan or identification, which is the storage optimization. The third level would be the most advanced one, which we call the lifecycle management within M365. So that third level, we will not be focusing on that level today. We would rather be focusing on the first two, but keep in mind that this one would be dedicated for customers that are willing to have a longer approval process, for example, get more stakeholders involved in that decision before they purge or they approve the disposition of any record in their environment. So it's rather a record management or information lifecycle management solution rather than just scanning and cleaning the data, right? So whether you're dealing with redundant files, inactive data, or just trying to get to handle your tenants data, your customer tenants data growth, Opus gives you structured, repeatable way to address those challenges, right? So most common scenarios or challenges we hear from customers today, for example, you're hitting M365 storage limits, right? And facing unexpected overage fees. That's a financial issue, which could cause a lot of other issues. So, struggling to meet compliance requirements, that's something related to legal discussions around retention and disposal. So, as you see in these use cases, often, most of the time, there's no clear strategy to manage that content growth. This is the real importance of Opus. Opus will address all of this by providing visibility, one, two, structure, three, automation when needed for managing data over time, right? So, a major reason these challenges exist is due to dark data. When I say dark data, is something that is sitting in your environment that you don't know about. So we can call it, for example, the what is this type of data or the unclear value uh, uh, of um, of that type of data. So this challenge is really important. So you may know you need you may don't know what you need to keep or what is actively used and so on. So the real added value here is to help you discover that data, right? Understand your customer data, what type of data that this is. Is it old? Is it irrelevant? Is it redundant? Is it obsolete? So we need to discover that data before we start taking action, right? Before we proceed in any type of use cases, advanced use cases. So what is actively used? The bulk of your storage, often 50%, falls under the what is this category, which is on the bottom. Opus will help you shine a light on that dark data and make it actionable, right? So we can take a decision upon that type of data. Now, all the data you see in this slide is alerting. You're going to see like the urgency is real. So cloud usage is exploding. Indeed, we have 300 million monthly Teams users being added, 1.7 megabyte of data being created per second, and 200 plus zettabytes expected by end of 2025. This is not just about cost. It's about efficiency, searchability, compliance, and ultimately business performance. So we need a smart way to keep this M365 environment lean and optimized, right? That's exactly what Opus delivers here. So Opus is built on four key pillars, as I've mentioned. The first one would be to discover and analyze, to scan your environment to understand what exists, how old it is, who owns it, and whether it's still needed before you start. Now, the second level would be to optimize the storage space to free up capacity by archiving or deleting unneeded data. The third level would be to manage data lifecycle, to apply retention or disposal policies based on metadata usage and business rules. We can also classify data based on terms by applying terms. So, which brings us to the fourth level, which is actually included in that data lifecycle management, which is the intelligent content classification, right? So we will be able to leverage machine learning to auto-classify content and support compliance programs. Now, if we want to break it further, discovery and analysis, you get flexible discovery profiles targeting raw and inactive data. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, all of this is starting to get more and more integrated with elements. So if you use elements for the first two steps, which is to discover that data and take action on that inactive or raw data, you're going to be benefiting from 12 scans per year whenever your customer purchases a license that is called workspace management from elements. They will be able to use those privileges, let's say, and they will start getting more and more available within the IT cloud marketplace as long as your customers start getting more and more involved with elements. So everything is going to be available with IT cloud in the future, in the near future. So for storage up, Opus can archive content to Azure, leaving behind lightweight stubs, an important feature, which is a link, drastically reducing your storage cost. Now, third level, as I mentioned, information lifecycle, it gets you tie disposal to metadata rules, classification schemas, and so forth. The final one would be Maestro AI, which supports intelligent content classification, learning and adapting to your specific taxonomy. Now, going back to elements, here's what it looks like in practice for a partner that has his customer enrolled under workspace management in elements. So once you've scanned and analyzed the tenant, Opus lets you act like archive, delete, or move based on business logic. In elements, you can create tailored discovery profiles the same way we will see now in Opus. You can define those route and inactivity rules. You can apply scans on demand or on a schedule. And the best part is you're not starting from scratch each time because each tenant gets up to 12 discovery scans annually, giving you a recurring cadence for continuous cleanup and optimization for those customers, right? So let's walk you through the data optimization process as I'm gonna demo today in the platform. This is the last slide, promise. So day one, when we talk about how our MSPs handle data cleanup and governance. Day one, it's going to be onboard your customer via elements if they are an elements customer. So what I'm listing now in this slide would be the perfect scenario, right? Since you're our MSP and you already manage AvePoint customers, so 99% of the time, they should be enrolled under elements. So this is the perfect scenario. How it should happen, you should onboard them into the elements portal. Step number two, define apply discovery profile rules, which will help us in our first and second step, as I already mentioned, in the data cleanup or data governance. So discovering that inactive and raw data and taking action on that. and we being able to schedule it as well. But whenever we start discussing more advanced optimization rules, that's one use case. The second use case would be, for example, automation and getting more proactive. So yeah, it's true that I want to clean up that environment for my customer, but I want to apply ongoing or schedule ongoing rules that will be applied on that environment instead of doing that manually every time from elements, or being able to engage some of those stakeholders from the customer side, like an IT team, through rollback access control, giving them access, bringing them and making them part of that experience. All of these use cases will force your customer to be subscribed to Opus itself instead of just a high level scan and cleanup from elements. So, to differentiate between both, it's integrated, yes, but depends on the use case that you're looking for with your customer, right? So whenever it comes to advanced features, advanced rules that we want to apply, not just raw data and inactive, we want more and more rules, or we want to automate that, or we want to engage those customers with us, we're gonna need Opus licenses to achieve that. So today I'm going to be focusing on Opus itself rather than just showing you how we can integrate that in elements, so we can give you the bigger picture, right, of storage up and cleanup. I'm going to touch on the elements piece at the end if we had enough time. So I'm going to stop sharing here and jump to the dashboard. Sylvain, can you please confirm if you see my screen again?
Yeah, all good, Yusuf.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. So, as most of you are familiar with our dashboard, so this is the confidence platform. Again, to clarify the nuance between both, this is the customer's point of view. So, this is the customer perspective, sorry. So, they will be able to see those services that they are subscribed to from AvePoint. And if you are managing those services on their behalf, you will be able to perform all those basic configurations like connecting to their tenant and deploy the needed permissions or application profiles to perform the needed job, which is, in our case, the data cleanup and data governance from Opus. So as you see here, these are the three main pillars of the confidence platform that we already showed in the slides: the modernization, the resilience, and the control suites, right? So we're targeting Opus today, which falls under the resilience suite inside information management. We can see it right here, or we can click on the service from here. In the command centers, we tried to, actually we did englobe all those features and aggregate those product features or module features into the most common use cases that your customers face today in the market. The most relevant use case would be the AI confidence, so getting ready or Copilot ready. So these customers want to be fully enabled and ready to adopt Copilot properly. So the main use case here would be the AI confidence, so we can give them outputs and results after scanning their environment of what they need to do, alongside with some recommendations that we do include here. So if we scroll down, it will bring us to one component, which is the ROT analysis and cleanup related to Opus. If we click on this, it will take us immediately to the Opus dashboard. So again, these in the command center, these use cases are not mandatory. So if any of your customers had any use case in mind, we can discuss that later on. But these are the most common use cases. These are not the only use cases we cover. These are the most common ones. So we try to categorize them into these modules that we call command centers, right? So when I jump into Opus, I can see that I have that it will take me directly to raw data analysis, right? But before we jump into the raw data analysis, let me take you through the dashboard, the main dashboard. So we can see two main tabs here, the information lifecycle and the storage up. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we have three levels of how I like to present that to my partners. So we have three levels in Opus. The first level would be to scan and analyze that data, right? So in case you don't know, you don't have an idea about how that data looks like today, how much do we have like in terms of inactive data or irrelevant data like raw data? We need to scan that environment before we start defining rules. That's when the real added value of discovery and analysis kicks in. So discovery and analysis will help you to have an overview of all that customer environment. So that would be level one, which is right here on this on the left menu. Discovery and analysis would contain discovery for inactive data, raw data, and you can see the optimization progress here after you take action, right? So this is level one. Level two would be information lifecycle that we see here on the main dashboard. It's going to be level three. Level two, after we do the discovery and analysis, as I mentioned earlier, if we want to automate that or part of that experience and define more advanced rules, we need to optimize that storage when it comes to SharePoint or OneDrive through this module right here. Information lifecycle, again, I'm not going to tackle this subject today because it's the most advanced one. So in case, yes, I need to define more advanced rules, more advanced approval processes, and I need to classify my data. So I need to go through the information lifecycle management SKU or the feature. So today we're going to be discussing the discovery and analysis and storage up. As you see here in the main dashboard, when we click on storage optimization, it's going to give you high-level data about your archived data already that you have archived, for example, after you did discover that data or after you have configured some rules and apply them on that production SharePoint environment or OneDrive. So you have an overview of that archived data size, the archived files, and how much did you save. When we say annual cost saving, so this is dynamic, this is customizable, so you can click here and configure how much you're paying for SharePoint today and compare how much you will be paying for the archive storage, right? So now let's go through the first step, which would be to discover that data. Now, I want to discover my data based on some like criteria that I have or predefined rules that are already registered in Opus. So we can use both. We give you the flexibility to either use the predefined rules that we have inside of Opus for redundant, obsolete, trivial, or inactive data. And or you can define your own or customize your own rules. Now, before we get inside of the rules, we can choose the scope. When I say scope, it means the target of SharePoint sites or OneDrive that I'm targeting for that scan. I'm not forced to do that on my full environment, my full customer environment. I can target which sites um, do I want to scan, right? So we can do that through the containerization technology or feature that you already know inside of the AvePoint online services right there, where you can just slice those SharePoint sites into different separate containers. So each container would contain a certain type of sites that you can filter or categorize depending on specific metadata, right? So you can always choose that scope instead of choosing to analyze everything. Now, uh, after I choose the scope, right? Um, I can start defining the thresholds. So when I say thresholds here, the reporting thresholds means these are only for visualization purposes. So how do I want to visualize these results after the scan is completed? So when we go to inactive data and raw data right here, we're going to see that we're going to be able to manipulate those results and depending on the options that we did define in this page. Now we come to the rules. So these are predefined rules that we have. For example, for inactive data, logically, it's either more than that I have more than 10 versions, 20 versions, and the data is modification date is greater than 2 years, for example. We can always edit that or add more rules, right? And for raw data, it's the same approach. We can choose what rules do we want to include for redundant, obsolete, and trivial data. Now, after we define those configurations, we can the discovery and scan will kick off, and we will start having results inside of inactive data and raw data right here. Now, the first thing we need to check is the summary. So I need to have an overview, an idea about how my customer data looks like today. So we have a total amount of 166 gigabytes, for example, for this environment. And we can see the file count. If we keep altering, these are the thresholds that we defined earlier, so we can manipulate these to see the different results, right? So let's say I want to see the modified time range between 5 years and after, so we can see that it's going to reduce the amount of inactive data to 140. So we can go ahead and save that into a profile so we can start taking action against that filtered data that I have just saved inside of this tab right here. So what we're seeing here is some filters, some dashboards, reporting. So a lot of flexibility here. You can choose to see, for example, those containers that we already defined. How much does that data um, uh, like make out of these containers? So we can see that this one is 119 gigabytes from the orphaned OneDrives, for example, 11 gigabytes from the default container that we have configured for the SharePoint sites, and so on. So you can manipulate those filters. After you're done, you can save that as a profile so you can take action against this data later on. Now, on the bottom right here, you can see another report or a filter that shows the data that is filtered or sorted by size. So as we can see here, in my case, the least amount of data that I have is the data that has the 50 megabyte size, or that is larger than 75 megabytes. So we have 3 files here, and we have 1 file here. You can always hover over these to have an idea about those types of data. Now, to take action. So if we click on this tab right here, again, we can, everything you see here is exportable, so you can share that with your customer, right? And when you take a decision and with the customer and you want to start destroying or archiving data, so again, this is the data that we saved into the profile earlier, so we can start checking off or selecting that data that we're targeting for action. We can click on archive and destroy, and we will see this final page that will help us before we start the archiving and destruction process. Now, these are this is the scope that we already configured before. Uh, did I change my mind? Do I want to include some files or some versions in that? Do I want to exclude the inactive data from being archived now or not? So we give you the means to alter um, that data that you have just targeted, so you can choose what to include in that scope before we start taking action. Now, the action can be either to archive data from production and remove it from production immediately. So I want to archive that data on the archive storage, which is a cold storage hosted on Azure, by the way, if you choose to go with AvePoint. And you can choose to bring your own storage as well. So we have a lot of flexibility. So your customer can choose to bring their own storage as well. Um, so whether you choose to archive and destroy it from production or to destroy it immediately, we give you the means or the flexibility to of how you want to re-access that data. For example, if it's archived, do you want to leave a stub in place? So when we say a stub in place, it means this is a link that will allow your end user to restore that data instead of recontacting you every time and for a restore activity, right? Right. So this feature could save you a lot of time, and the stub won't take any space, of course, from production. So it will be a link that will be living in the same location where that file existed in production, and it would like allow the end user to perform that restore. Now, of course, there's a maximum and a cap for that, so they cannot keep restoring indefinitely like data every day. But of course, it allows you to have more flexibility and spare some time to perform more important activities. Now, how does that stub look like in the production? So if you go to your SharePoint site, you should see that I have a link right here. Let me see what happened here. Okay, so the link would look like this. As you can see here, this is my SharePoint site, right? And I have a lot of regular documents, and this one was a document that was already archived. So if I click on this link, it would give me a message that this document was archived due to the following rule. And if you want to restore it, you can right click on this link and it will get restored. So this message is customizable, by the way, so you can include whatever you want in that message. So you can give that flexibility to your customer. Now, you can choose to destroy that data immediately instead of just archiving it and destroying it. So you can just choose to destroy it immediately, include declared records if we have any, and you get to choose if you want to archive and destroy versions as well, or do you want to destroy them immediately. And the last option right here is to run that cleanup right now, or do you want to configure it to be run on a specific time? So to give you more flexibility, right? If you want to run it after working hours and so on. So we have one more option right here that says simulate. So it will give you a full report of those files, those URLs to those files that will be actually destroyed or archived before you proceed with the actual destruction or archival, so you can have an idea about how would that look like. So again, we're done with inactivity, and raw data is going to be the same process, exactly the same process as you see here. We have a summary. We can change those filters, save them in a profile, and of course, you can visualize uh, um, that raw data. So we can separate, like you can see redundant data, how much is it taking as a space in that raw data analysis, obsolete data, trivial data, and these are the constraints or the the filters that you have applied in your rules. So you can see all those results right here. You can hover over that data type so you can see how much do you have in each type. Now for the action, exactly the same. You can export these and choose to archive and destroy. Now, let's cover the automation part. Let's say, yes, I did scan my environment, my customer environment. I took action against that inactive and raw data. I can just visualize that optimization progress, right? I'm still talking about the discovery and analysis portion. So it will show you like, yeah, we predict that you're going to have 22 times more data by year three, for example. You need to consider the budget. You need to see, we provide you with a graph so you can share that with your customer, right? So you can have more in-depth and convincing discussions. So after you do all this, you might like figure out that your customer needs more and more automation because they keep having, or this incident keeps occurring frequently, so they need to clean up that data frequently, more than once per month, for example. So this is where the need for the storage optimization module comes in. So you need to define those rules that we already defined here, similar to these, and it can be more advanced type of rules that we can define right here. So these rules will dictate how to keep scanning that data, and we can schedule those rules to be applied on top of those content sources like SharePoint, like OneDrive, so it can continuously keep optimizing those environments or those workspaces. So the first approach here would be automation. So we are defining rules right here. So those rules can be anything that you are targeting in terms of metadata or conditions, right? So you need to choose the storage optimization module. Since we're targeting now storage op, you need to choose which content source. You give it a name, and then you choose that condition for that rule. When I say condition, it's using that metadata, right? So any type of metadata that you're looking to use here, we have that flexibility. And again, this is a more advanced way of how you can define rules, right? And the same actions that we have already defined earlier, you can choose them from here. The additional thing that you can choose here is how much do you want to retain your archive data. So retention can be configured from here for compliance reasons, right? If you want to keep that data in the archive for 1 year and after that you want to delete it and delete the stubs from the original location, you have the flexibility to choose that as well. So I did configure my rules, everything's ready. Now I need to apply them on my content source, which is SharePoint, for example. I go to storage up, I choose these containers that we have already defined before, as I mentioned, or you can drill down to the site level. So you can choose to apply that rule on top of a SharePoint site or the full container. So if I want to apply that on this site as a rule, we can just choose to enable the archiving. We need to choose the role that I'm targeting here, for example, that we have already created. And after I choose that rule, we can go ahead and schedule it to be run on a specific date and time right there, right here. No, sorry, this one is irrelevant. So we need to schedule that rule to be run on a specific date and time, and you can give it a no end date option, so it never stops, right? So after you do this, it will start running on the specified date and time, or you can run the storage optimization job immediately from here. If it's an on-demand thing or a manual process, you can do that as well. So we did two level of scanning and of destruction and archiving. So we did the discovery, which is the first step, and the second step, if needed, would be the automation part by using storage optimization capabilities and applying rules on top of those content sources. All right. So why do we need this? Because automation will help me spare more time, of course, lower the TCO, hence bring more money to you as an MSP, and of course, being proactive with your customers. So that customer doesn't need to wait every time they will have that issue occurring again, having those type of irrelevant data living in their tenant. So everything will be automated. And of course, the third use case here would be if you want to include your customer in that type of experience, you can add them as users here. You can give them access to only restore data, or you can give them access to visualize those content sources that are being archived, or even be part of that rule definition and the configuration part. So a lot of flexibility of how you can invite your customer to be part of this experience from Opus. Again, you cannot do this in Elements. You cannot invite your customer to access Elements. Elements would be only for you as an MSP. That's why I keep insisting on this point. So in that case, this is the real added value of Opus. So in case they needed more advanced rules to define automation, or they want to be part of that experience, you need to use the Opus licenses for this. Now, in the Restore Center, um, you can choose whatever you're targeting for a restore, right? So this is the experience where your customer is not restoring stuff as a stub on their end. So if you as a partner need to perform that restore for them, you can come to the restore center and choose what SharePoint site you're targeting, what level of objects are you targeting here, right? And you can search, and it will give you all that data that was archived. You can proceed by restoring that data. More and more features are being added to Opus, like site mapping. So now you can perform an out of place restore to another site, for example. So we have a lot of flexibility there. A lot of reporting capabilities as well. So you can see, for example, how much do I have as archive sites, restored data. So you can have that report exported and shared with your customer and so on. Now, since we still have almost 10 minutes for me before we jump into your questions, I will show you how it should look like from an Elements experience, right? So if we go to Elements, and as I mentioned earlier, so this is only for you, dedicated for you as MSPs. Most of you are using already Elements, so that's good. Now, if you want to enable that service, you know how. So you can go to Services, Add Services, and you should be able to add the baseline workspace management storage optimization module. Okay, so in most cases here in my tenants, it's already added, but let me check if this one is not. Yeah, here it is. So for this tenant, it's not added. So I need to go add service, enable this. And of course, after your customer purchases this. And again, I believe this is still not available in with IT Cloud now, but it will be available very soon. So what you will be able to see here is the workspace management discovery profiles after you have that license purchased. So you can start defining those discovery profiles the same way we saw earlier when we defined the discovery profile rules. So the same thing here. Again, from Elements, the scope of integration would be the following. We can do the same thing we do in Opus in terms of discovery and analysis, plus destruction and archival of the rot data plus inactive data. And we can see reports of how that data is being optimized, including storage optimization jobs as well. We cannot take action except for rot and inactive data. So that first use case, right? So whenever it comes to more and more advanced use cases, then whenever your customer will start asking you for automation and stuff, this is when you will say, yes, we will need to purchase an Opus license. This is how we help you generate recurring revenue. So you will be able to see that in workspace management as a first level, which is to clean up that environment. And again, if your customer purchases a workspace management storage up license, they will be benefiting from 12 scans per year. So they can do that, for example, one scan per month. So you can do that cleanup on their behalf and they'll be good. But again, if they start asking for more and more, and you can start educating them about the importance of automation and being proactive and so on, so they can purchase an SO license from Opus and they can get more and more engaged in that experience. Now, in workspace management, we need to create a profile. Again, this is the same approach. So we're giving it a name, and then we define that threshold that we already defined with the roles, the same way we defined inside of discovery and analysis in Opus. What do I mean by inactive? And what do I mean by raw data? After I do all this, I click save. Now, we didn't kick off any action yet. We're scanning. So after you kick off the scan, you will be seeing some results in workspace management. So you will be seeing those customers that you have. The customer that is already licensed for that discovery will be able to enable that feature. So you can enable that feature for them. You click on that customer right here, and you enable storage optimization discovery after you configure the discovery profile, right? So I can enable that feature for this customer, and it will start scanning immediately. As you see here, my second customer has already storage optimization discovery enabled. So if I click on that customer, it will take me to what he included in that scope. Is it for SharePoint and team sites or OneDrive, right? So we can configure a lot of stuff here, and we can run the discovery immediately from here for that customer, right? So after I start seeing some results, we will be able to see something that looks like this. So for this customer that has storage optimization discovery enabled, I discovered 81 inactive data, gigabytes of inactive data and 77 gigabytes of raw data. So if I click on here, it will take me immediately to those workspaces where I can proceed by performing something that we call the archival or the destruction, right? So if I click on archive and destroy, it will take me right here to the same place that we saw earlier in Opus. So we can either choose everything in scope or specific files and versions. What am I targeting here? Is it inactive data rules? Do I want to take action using inactive data rules or raw data rules? So depends on what I want to do. Do I want to archive and destroy, or do I want to destroy the same approach of how we saw earlier? So do I want to run it immediately, or do I want to configure that to be run on a specific date and time? So as you noticed, we're doing the same exact steps that we have done in Opus, but from Elements, right? Without the automation part, without the more advanced rules that we can apply. Whenever your customer starts seeing that, yes, my partner is really helping me clean up my environment, and we're getting more and more involved in that area. So they will ask you for more automation, or you can show them the real added value of that. So from Elements again, all what we need to do as partners is for our customers to be subscribed to Workspace Management Discovery Profiles, and we need to come daily to Workspace Management and check out whenever my scan is complete, and then take action immediately from here, from this dashboard. So I can scroll to inactive data or raw data. I click on that link. It will take me to that filtered view of those SharePoint sites, for example. Everything that falls under that filter, and I can start taking action from here, right? And again, um, this is the high level, the first step if your customer needs to get more and more involved. A lot of time saving that we provide here from Elements, so you don't need to keep going. And by the way, they don't need an Opus license if you are enrolling them under the Workspace Management Discovery profile. So this is a separate licensing type, so they can only they just need that to perform all what we have seen in Elements. Now, if they need, again, more advanced features or rules and automation, that's when they need to purchase additional Opus licenses. So this concludes what I wanted to show today. I hope this was helpful, and I will leave some time now open for questions. And thank you for having us today.
Does anyone have any questions for Youssef? Now would be a good time. We have the opportunity to have someone, solution engineer directly from AvePoint with us today on this webinar. So if any of you have some questions, please come forward. Do not hesitate and put your questions in the chat. All right, well, I don't see any questions, so thank you very much for today's content, Youssef. And I just wanted to share a couple of things with everyone here in this webinar today. Today's webinar, along with other webinars from IT Cloud, which we've done in the past, are available on our YouTube channel because IT Cloud, yes, does have a YouTube channel. So, do not hesitate. It's public. It's open, so you can go and consult all those different webinars on different products, on different subject topics that we have recorded in the past and made available to you. And as well, when you go there, please do not hesitate to show us your appreciation, whether you like our videos or not, and please share with others. And as usual, we always ask this of every webinar or every training we do, that you would, kindly please evaluate us. Let us understand if the session was useful to you. It also allows you to provide feedback that you weren't able to provide at the time during the presentation after having reflected on some of the content. A couple of hours later, or whatever the case may be, you might feel like you're more wanting to share something with us. So we would really, really appreciate that. And as always, it helps us understand how we can improve our webinars in the future, because ultimately our goal is to deliver the best product, the best value to you, our RIT Cloud partners. So on that note, I don't see any other questions in the chat. Thank you, Youssef, for presenting Opus from AvePoint to us today. And if any of you have any questions, do not hesitate to communicate with us. Call us at IT Cloud. Send us an email. We're here to help you. We'll definitely answer any questions you have on whether it be Opus from AvePoint, on any other AvePoint product, or any other product that we resell that is available in our catalog.
Thank you, Silva. Thank you so much for hosting this event.
You're very welcome, Youssef, and I thank you for being with us today. So on that note, I'll say thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.